You're assigned to watch a movie titled Dead Silence, and it is a horror movie. So honestly, I got scared while watching it because it includes puppets and dolls, and I hate puppets and dolls because it creeps me out. So in this movie, I can see the ventriloquism effect and the attending of cross modalities. So we can connect it to the movie. So, about what is a ventriloquism effect? First, it is an auditory illusion in which sound is misperceived as emanating from a source that can be seen to be moving appropriately when it actually emanates from a different invisible source. So, the ventriloquism effect, makikita natin siya doon sa part na si Mary Shaw, na isang ventriloquist, um, ano nga ba din ang ventriloquist? So, ang ventriloquist is a person who can talk or who can speak or utter sounds without moving their mouth and face. So, nagmo-move lang yung dila nila. So, ganun si Mary Shaw. Isa siyang ventriloquist entertainer, and kasama niya sa pagpe-perform si Billy na isang puppet or isang ventriloquist dummy doll. So, dun sa part na nagpa-perform si Billy and si Mary Shaw, uh, yung mga tao, yung mga audience is hangang-hanga kay Mary Shaw kasi di nila akalain na habang ginaguide niya si Billy, nagsasalita si Billy at nagbibitaw ng mga magagandang lines. So, doon papasok yung ventriloquism effect kasi akala ng mga tao na si Billy talaga nagsasalita. Ang di nila alam is si Mary Choi isang ventriloquist na kaya na siya yung nagke-create nung lines na sinasabi ni Billy using her tongue. Hindi siya hindi nila nakikita na gumagalaw din yung bibig niya. So, ayun yung ventriloquism effect. Maiko-connect natin siya doon. And the other one is the attending across modalities. So, ito yung may ko-connect natin siya dun sa part na nag-interfere na si Michael Ashen, yung batang namahiya kay Mary Shaw, na kung saan nakita daw niya na gumagalaw yung bibig ni Mary Shaw. And that is example of attending across modalities, which is the lip reading. So, ang attending across modalities is, it is by focusing on distraction, we ignore the fact that sight and sound often convey mutually supporting information. So, si Michael is nakafocus siya sa sa bibig ni Mary Shaw kasi titingnan niya kasi hindi siya naniniwala na talaga nagsasalita yung puppet. Kaya tinitingnan niya mabuting maigi si Mary Shaw kung siya ba yung nagke-create nung boses ni Billy. And nakita nga niya by lip reading, nakita niya na si Mary yung nag-create nung sounds or nung lines na sinasabi ni Billy. At si Mary din yung nag-control kay Billy. At natin mapapakita yung attending across modalities. So, itong lip reading, hindi naman lahat ng tao meron nito. Hindi lahat ng skills na ganito is meron. Kasi mahirap mag-focus dun sa naririnig mo tsaka sa nakikita mo. Depende na lang kung talagang sobrang focus ka. Kaya si Michael, yung masasabi ko na meron siyang lip reading skills kasi kahit isasalita si Billy ganyan, nagko-focus pa rin siya sa harapan kay Mary Shaw kasi nga andun sa loob niya na hindi siya naniniwala na si Billy talaga yung nagsasalita, na may nagko-control talaga sa kanya. And in the end, napatunayan nga na si Mary Shaw yung nagke-create nung sounds ng mga lines na binibitaw ni Billy. Kaya makikita natin yung attending across modalities doon tsaka yung ventriloquism effect.
So, good day. The movie Dead Silence, which we were assigned to watch and relate to the topic or lesson this week, is about a young widower, Jamie Ashen, who returns to his home to find answers to his wife's death, which may be linked to the ghost of a dead ventriloquist named Merisho. So, a ventriloquist is an artist who practices the art of ventriloquism, or also known as ventriloquy, in which the person throws his or her voice to make it seem like it's coming from the puppet or doll he or she is holding. So, the puppet or doll is usually called a dummy, probably because it gets its smarts from its operator. So the technical term for ventriloquist dummy is a ventriloquial figure. So most ventriloquists perform with their lips slightly separated to allow the sounds to emanate from their mouths without moving their lips. So this works because humans or people use their eyes to find the sound sources. So whenever or when we watch a ventriloquist act, we may not even have a choice when it comes to submitting to the illusion. So the reason is that ventriloquist is not moving his mouth, but the puppet's mouth is moving. And people think or believe they see the figure talking. So, part of this illusion is misdirection. Our attention is focused on that puppet, but another part is our reaction to incoming stimuli. Um, in certain scenarios like ventriloquism or watching TV. So these two modes of sensory detection gets mixed up before the brain can separate the senses. So basically assuming that the auditory and visual stimuli are coming from the same source. So this is why when we watch a show on TV, the sounds of an actor's voice appears to be coming from their mouth rather than the speakers. So this ventriloquism, the secret behind this ventriloquist act are there are a handful of letters that you cannot use without moving your mouth. So these letters are B, F, M, P, V, and W. So ventriloquists simply substitute the similar letters with re- which requires them to say the substitution letter while thinking of the real letter in order for them to pull the trick off with fidelity. So this effect makes it seems like the vent is throwing his or her voice, but all they're just doing is intensely controlling their volume and pronunciation while still thinking and making jokes at the same time.
In the movie we watched, there was a scene where Mary Shaw and her dummy Billy performed. Many people believe that Billy was really talking, and there was also a no, and that is Michael Ashen. He criticized their performance, which Mary Shaw got embarrassed and angry. It can be seen that Michael not only focused on his auditory system but also in his vision, which he proved to himself that it was Mary Shaw who was speaking. Visual stimuli can capture and perceive the original location of the sounds, and that is called ventriloquism effect. And for those who believe that Billy is really speaking, they were tricked by ventriloquism. The illusion is this illusion is a fundamental idea of how the brain integrates audio and visual information to generate a unified multimodal perception. In contrast to our sense of sight, our sense of hearing reports information about the location of the sound in a total different way. Locating an object in space is simple for a person with good or better vision, but pinpointing the exact location of a sound from a hearing alone is far more difficult. To make us believe that the voice is coming from the puppet rather than them, they move the face of the puppet. They take control of it. For the puppet, they are using different voice, and they usually aim to make it appear as if the puppet is really speaking. The visual stimuli is capture of the perceived location of the sound, and that can last long after the visual stimuli has vanished. This is known as ventriloquism after effect, and it make us believe that the aim of the ventriloquism is to help us calibrate our sound localization abilities.
For my part, I'll talk about the link or connection between attending across modalities such as lip reading and the scene where Mary Shaw, a ventriloquist, performs on stage. In that scene, because we can see his lips moving, we assume that the puppet or the dummy is the one who is talking or speaking in that moment. We prefer to react or assume that the voice we hear is coming from the puppet named Billy, which is why we can shift our attention to Mary Shaw, who is actually speaking, because we cannot see her lips move. To summarize it, we feel or believe this individual is speaking if his or her lips move as she or he speaks. Another thought of mine is that when we hear noise or sound, our brain automatically activates a function that connects to our visual system, which is why we normally look for the source of the sound or where the sound is coming from. And this explains the scene where Mary Shaw performed ventriloquism on the stage.